Good evening. International football took centre stage earlier in the week. Congratulations, by the way, to the Football League's Jay Bothroyd for that well-deserved England cap against France. Now, though, it's back to business and getting points on the board. Steve's with us to review the day's action. And waiting on her perch for your emails and texts is Lizzie.
Yes, and as always, we're keen to hear your footballing thoughts of the day, your questions for Steve, and also something else I want to throw into the mix this week, and that's the worrying trend of low attendances at many clubs this season. So has your club got a problem with that? And if so, what's going on? Is it you're voting with your feet? Is it the credit crunch? Or is it just that you'd rather watch us on a Saturday night? You can text us on 81111 or send us an email to footballleague@bbc.co.uk.
Well, there was plenty going on in the N-Power Football League today. Here's what's coming up tonight. Coventry and Burnley are still very much in the promotion mix. The Sky Blues and the Clarets offered up a colourful affair this afternoon at the Ricoh Arena. Sheffield United and Crystal Palace both found themselves at the wrong end of the table. A win today for either would provide a real boost to their campaign.
The long wait for League One leaders Brighton is almost over. Their new stadium's nearing completion, and en route to their game with Bristol Rovers, I'll be taking a look around, and look who's already in the dugout directing proceedings.
Great bit of acting from Gus. We kick off tonight at the foot of the Championship. Crystal Palace went into the weekend just one place off the bottom, and George Burley's men travel to Sheffield United, a team who've also got survival on the mind, but were boosted by last week's win at Millwall. Just one change from that match: Richard Cresswell in for Matthew Loughton, Andy Reid making his full home debut. Palace were without Adam Barrett, who failed a late fitness test. The visitors were wearing special Children in Need shirts, the only charity on offer at Bramall Lane. Commentary comes from Martin Fisher.
It's a great ball. It's Vaughan in behind Nosworthy. He's got a man free to his right if he wants to use him. It's Ndiaye. Palace with three well forward here. Dans, was he pushed over? Penalty given. Anthony Taylor in, absolutely no doubt whatsoever. Dan's going to ground very easily, it has to be said. There was contact, but not much, but enough for the referee to point to the spot. Dans has accepted responsibility. Scored against Portsmouth from the spot. He's done it again. Crystal Palace take the lead. Dans with his third goal of the campaign. Straight down the middle. Simonson guesses the wrong way. Should have stayed still. Reid, who's quit his left-hand side role and is now sitting just behind the front two. Evans has it. Good-looking ball in. Great clearance by McCarthy. Cresswell was on his shoulder. It's another corner. It could have been a whole lot worse for Crystal Palace. Evans with a tasty ball in. It's excellent work from the Dubliner. It's a sixth corner for Sheffield United. Davis to clear once more. Dans helps it on. Scrappy stuff. And it's Garvin for Crystal Palace. Trying to feed Vaughan. On one to Zaha. Zaha! Well, had he gone for that with his left boot, you would have fancied him really testing Simonson. Simple stop in the end for the Sheffield United goalkeeper. The flick on. Evans is after it. Appeals for a penalty. Another controversial decision. This time it's the Palace players who are puzzled by that decision from Anthony Taylor. As soft as the first one, will it be as costly? Now then, red card for Owen Garvin. Well, let's have a look at this again. He's obviously said something. There's the yellow card. And then he's had another word, and it's a straight red. Richard Cresswell, who hasn't scored in his last 8 games, with a chance to level. Great strike. Sheffield United back on level terms, and it's all to play for. And now they're against 10 men. No foul for the challenge by Montgomery on Dans, and Calway brings it forward. Reid again. 3 in stripes in the middle. Speroni came and then went back home. What a great save from the Argentine from point-blank range. That's terrific stop from the standing Crystal Palace captain. Zaha beginning to pose a threat. Klein on the overlap, running away from Yates. Vaughan! Palace in front! What a finish from James Vaughan on the counter-attack. 10-man Palace restore their lead. Well, Wilfried Zaha has caused a lot of difficulty for Sheffield United in the last few minutes. What a ball for Klein and what a cross for Vaughan to nod home. It's a real sucker punch. In off the bar, Palace go back in front. Calvey off right and behind for another corner. I make it that Sheffield United are now into double figures for corners. Reed with it. Swung in. Headed away as far as Evans to whip it back in. Another great save from Speroni off the post. Palace get lucky. He might well smile. Two splendid stops from Speroni. This is the latest as Evans whacks it back across, in by Yates, and what a fingertip stop. And then the post comes to the aid of the visitors. And here's the earlier stop, point blank from Richard Cresswell from Bartley's knockdown. Montgomery. Yates. Off right and behind, it's another corner. Staggering number of corners that Speedsmen have won. This is 14 by my calculations. Should be asking more questions of Speroni. Speroni goes to punch it. Back in by Jordan. Back in by Yates. What defending by Palace? Well, Palace getting very lucky on occasions inside their own penalty area. Reed. Curling it in. Off the bar this time by Speroni and forced in eventually. Ched Evans on the score sheet. It has been coming. Speroni unable to keep that one out at the second attempt. First attempt by Bartley. And was Evans offside when Bartley's header went goalwards? 2-2 and 5 to go, and Reed swings it across. Back across, Bogdanovic couldn't help it goalwards. Palace are rocking, a push, another penalty. Foolish by Davis after what's gone on before. And on this occasion, I have to agree with the referee. There's the push by Davis on Bogdanovic, who's coming away from goal. Bogdanovic against Speroni. 3-2 Sheffield United. What a turnaround. Bogdanovic never looked like missing. It's his second goal of the season. It's a vital strike for Sheffield United. Into the last minute we go. Good distance on that kick from Speroni, but straight onto the head of Nosworthy. Klein fouled by Bogdanovic. Out comes the card. It's a red card. Bogdanovic sent off. Well, he's not the only man puzzled here today. He's come on as a sub. He's scored what probably will be the winning goal, and he's been sent off for that nasty challenge. It's a straight red for Bogdanovic.
Obviously the first half was highlights with two penalties, which I didn't think either of them were penalties. And they got a man sent off, which I don't think helped us in any way. I thought Palace set the stall out well, and sometimes playing against 10 men and you're 1-0 down, you know, it's very, very difficult to break down. And you know, we went behind at home again, which I didn't want. But fortunately we got it back.
To lose a player for what we now understand turned down to a straight red for foul and abusive language, do you have any arguments about that?
Well, I don't know exactly what was said. I can understand his frustration because clearly it was never a penalty. So he's not going to thank the referee for that. So I think the referee caused that problem, which maybe he should have said something, but that's that happens all the time.
Well, in many ways, it was quite similar to the game we featured last week between Reading and Norwich, where a refereeing decision almost has a pivotal point in the game. But it's a shame, once again, we're talking about a referee's performance.
Yes, but undoubtedly you can't really go anywhere else in this one, can you? Because, as you said, it had such a major impact on the game itself. You're actually watching some of the games and thinking, if he's going to give decisions like that, he's going to have to give 150 penalties a season.
Yeah.
If we're going to go along the lines of why he's giving penalties there. And some of the other decisions didn't make sense either.
All right, well, this is the penalty that Palace got. What did you make of this one?
Well, I mean, Neil Downs is never getting on the end of that. OK, so it's a nudge in the back, but we see that time and time again. We keep saying it's soft. It is soft. I mean, that sort of things happen all the time. This one, you've got absolutely no chance of getting on the end of that. I mean, I don't even think that it's, the coming together is the two Crystal Palace players. It's not actually the Sheffield United player being caught in the middle. And as I say, it was more a case of evening it up more so than anything else. And we do see that time and time again. But they were two poor decisions.
How things changed for Sheffield United, I think 84 minutes on the clock, 2-1 down. And you almost thought they were going to come unstuck against 10 men. But what about, I mean, this... this is the offside, well, the goal that at first, you've got to say, Ched Ovens clearly looked offside from this angle.
Well, it is offside. You can see as the ball's headed on, he's standing, 2 yards offside, and the linesman's got a good view of that. He should see that. I still think that linesmen and officials are still a little bit confused about, are they in the line of play? Are they participating?
Well, of course he's participating because he stuck the ball in the back.
Of course, absolutely. But they've still got to take that into consideration when they're making decisions.
Yeah.
And clearly, I mean, you can't. If you said that, is he standing offside? He's 2 yards offside. I mean, it's not an issue.
Yeah, finally, it was a battling performance from Palace, but they've conceded 7 penalties now. How much of that can George Burley put down to poor refereeing? To which point does he now say this is a bit of a concern now for us?
Well, certainly on this game, it's one for one camp and one for the other, because one was a poor refereeing decision, one was a poor decision by Mr. Davis. It was a ridiculous challenge with the players facing away from goal and going nowhere. I think they just basically, I think just the 10 men finally caught up with them, and Sheffield United just had a right go at them for the last 20 minutes, and I just don't think they could live with them. And the 10 men, as I say, I think the legs just went last 10 minutes.
Yeah. Right, to the upper echelons of the N-Power Championship, and the table has certainly made happy reading for those who follow Welsh football. Swansea began the day in third, while leaders Cardiff were looking to consolidate top spot at home to Nottingham Forest.
Cardiff versus Nottingham Forest, two of the teams that made the playoffs last year. Jay Bothwood back in a Cardiff shirt after becoming the first serving Bluebird to play for England. But it was last season's top scorer Peter Whittingham who almost put Cardiff ahead. Man of the moment Bothwood had a great chance to add to his already memorable week when he was put through by Craig Bellamy, unable though to claim his 16th goal of the season. Maybe Fabio Capello knows about Forest midfielder Lewis McGugan. This strike another contender in his very own goal of the season competition. McGugan's 9th in all, and Forest looking for their first win against Cardiff since 1976. McGugan again the Cardiff tormentor after the break, supplying sub Dexter Blackstock with 6 minutes remaining. The clincher. Blackstock's day turned sour in the final minute though, when he suffered what looked to be a serious injury. A painful end to what was a big win for Forest. Forest now into the playoff places for the first time this season. It finished Cardiff 0, Forest 2.
If people listen to what I'm saying, then we know that we need a little bit more quality at times, but all we ask for here is just give myself and this great staff that we've got, give us the opportunity, give us the support. We know what it takes to get out of this division.
Bottom of the Championship, and with just 1 win in 8, these are tough times for Darren Ferguson's Preston. A trip to Fortress Loftus Road didn't bode well, and it took still unbeaten Rangers less than 4 minutes to go ahead. Andy Lonergan gifting Rob Hulse the easiest of finishes, his first for the club. And you'd think Championship defences by now know exactly what Adel Taarabt is capable of, but sometimes they just can't stop him. That was the Moroccan's 7th goal of the season, and number 8 wasn't bad either. This time too much power for Lonergan. Preston did pull a goal back late on, but even that was scored by a QPR player, Matt Connolly, with a lapse in concentration. Rangers return to the top, Preston still rock bottom.
The potential for the beautiful game at the Keepmoat, Doncaster and Swansea proving that fluid football can be the basis for a promotion push. It began well for Donny, who took the lead thanks to a James Hayter header, a 5th goal in 5 for the former Bournemouth man. Swansea chasing a 5th successive away league win and were almost level when Darren Prattley went through. He couldn't quite find the target though. The sellout home crowd were treated to another entertaining encounter at the Keepmoat. James Coppinger could have given them something else to cheer, but he couldn't get the better of Doris de Vries. Another slick Rovers move gave David Healy the chance to add to his 2 goals for the club, but again de Vries up to the job. Still, it looked like Donny had done enough to claim all the points. Until the 3rd minute of injury time, Angel Rangel with the emphatic finish to save an unlikely point for the Swans.
A terrific point, and I think it demonstrates the mentality and the spirit within the group.
Overall, I thought we did really well. Created chances, made their goalkeeper, play an important part in the game.
Derby have the highest average gates in the Championship right now, and Rams fans have had plenty to cheer. They've seen their side score the most goals at home in the Championship. Looking for a 6th successive home win, Derby enjoyed the perfect start against Scunthorpe. Polish midfielder Tomasz Sivka with the strike. But Scunthorpe have saved their best performances for the road. They'd won their last 3 away matches, and they levelled here just before the half hour. Jonathan Fort got the better of Gareth Roberts, and what about this for a finish? Ten minutes later, Spanish forward Alberto Bueno's trickery earned his side a penalty. Michael O'Connor with a clumsy challenge. And fresh from his first goal for Scotland in the week, Chris Commons did the honours, 2-1 Derby. And just before the hour, the Rams had a 2-goal cushion. An emphatic finish from Luke Moore this time, Sivka the provider. But there was still more to come. Gareth Roberts had received a yellow card just 2 minutes before this challenge on Martin Wolford. Penalty Scunthorpe, and a 2nd yellow for Roberts. Michael O'Connor made sure there'd be a nervy finish for Derby, but the 10 men held on for yet another Pride Park win.
A record all-seater crowd at Carrow Road as over 26,000 packed in to see 2 sides who gained automatic promotion from League One last season. A bad week for Paul Lambert as he was charged with improper conduct after his comments following the draw with Reading. His afternoon didn't begin well here. Leeds' Luciano Becchio was fouled in the build-up, but as the referee played on, Max Gradle made the most of the opportunity to shoot under John Ruddy. Norwich had Grant Holt up front after his red card against Reading was rescinded by the FA, and the captain nearly grabbed an equaliser. Kasper Schmeichel grateful for the fortunate rebound. But the home side's pressure finally told. David Fox's corner met by Leon Barnett. His first goal for the Canaries, his first for anyone for 2.5 years. It finished 1-1, a 4th consecutive draw for Norwich.
It's never easy being the home team and the onus is on you to make the running, but as I say, I'm delighted with the lads. We've got a great spirit, that's one thing they've got it in abundance, and I thought the second half we were absolutely terrific.
It was 2 teams going head to head like we did last year, and playing the game in the right manner, and both trying to win it till the very end there, and it's a good advert for 2 teams that have been promoted from League One into the Championship this year.
Yeah, by all accounts, a great spectacle at Carrow Road. Shows both those sides are feeling more than at home in the second tier of English football. As for QPR, a rampant win for them over Preston. It's got to say, without saying, that Darren Ferguson is under increasing pressure. Adil Tarap ran the show, but Martin Rowlands is coming back from injury, which, you know, may not grab the headlines, but, you know, he's a big player for them.
He is a very big player. I mean, I watched him many, many times in previous years. He had a very, very bad injury, of course, but one of, you know, if not their best players, and a good player. And certainly it's ominous for everybody else when they've got that sort of quality still to come in the side. As you say, Abdel Tarab, it was his day. But I think, to be fair, it needs to be his day because, you know, he needs to play well because that's the type of game that he has. He has to get on the ball and he has to make them play because, to be fair, without it, he doesn't really give them too much.
Talking of injuries, Martin Rowlands coming back. It looks like Dexter Blackstock from Nottingham Forest is facing a spell on the sidelines. It looks like he's done his cruciate now for the club, and we certainly wish him a speedy recovery because it looked horrendous at the time. But he was playing, of course, against Cardiff. Jay Bothroyd's had a terrific few days, English cap. For the national side, 8 goals in 6 games, but then I think brought down to earth with a bump with this, I think.
Don't worry about that. Football will pick you up and put you down and then thankfully pick you up again. One of those where when you go that wide, you need to sclaff it, you need to sort of miss-hit it and get your body around it and fall over. Unfortunately, he caught it too well, but you just lose your bearings a little bit as you go wide of the goal.
Should mention well into Derby on that terrific home club record they've now set. Now to the West Midlands, where Eddie Boothroyd's Coventry took on Burnley. Cov were as high as 4th going to November, but a run of 3 straight defeats has seen them slip out of the playoff places. As for Burnley, well, their form is much better. Brian Laws' team started the day in 6th thanks to a 4-game unbeaten run. Clive Platt and Nathan Cameron returned for Cov, while Burnley were unchanged from the team who beat Watford last week. On hand for us at the Rico was John Roeder.
Fouled by Carsley. Platt with a little ball back. Keogh unable to get the cross in. Through in the middle. Shot was charged down. It was Michael Doyle who fired it in from the edge of the area. You can see Doyle here in a bit of space, but 2 defenders quickly out to put their bodies in the way. Westwood will gather. It's towards King. Carsley. Lee Carsley! And pushed away by Lee Grant. Suddenly an opportunity presented itself to Carsley. The run here away from the defenders. Towards Iwalumu. Now a chance here. Westwood in the way though, to just push that one away from Jay Rodriguez. This is Eagles. McSheffrey away. King. Jay Rodriguez so close to the opening goal, and he was suddenly in and behind the defence. Platt. Baker finds McSheffrey. That's a free kick, fouled by Carlisle, who felt that he got the ball and he might very well have a case. Carlisle convinced that this was a good challenge, and the replay would seem to back up his case as well. He gets the ball, most definitely. McSheffrey on the left of your picture, Baker on the right. It's McSheffrey. Oh, it's a super save. Lee Grant at full stretch to just push that one away to safety. Gary McSheffrey looking for his 5th goal of the season. And he came mighty close to claiming it. Cork. All rather congested in the middle. Burnley trying to play it wide. McSheffrey's in the way. Eagles. Elliott. Eagles. Strong surging run from him. Well, that's an excellent opportunity for Burnley to open the scoring. Chris Eagles combining well here with Elliott. And suddenly, as you can see, there's a gap that opens up in front of him. Duff. Mears. Iwelumo, he's onside here. Chris Iwelumo, what a chance! Immense frustration for the Burnley striker. Hooked forward by Mears. It was an awkward bounce for Iwelumo, but he certainly struck it well. Just wide though. Here's Clive Platt. Goodison gets his first touch. And gets a corner kick as well. Well, Coventry were close to conceding a goal at the other end. Now they're searching for the opener of the afternoon. McSheffrey across to take this corner. Away by Iwelumo. Goodison with the header. This is Michael Doyle. Strikes it well! Strikes it very well! Michael Doyle puts Coventry in front with an excellent shot. For the last time Coventry played Burnley here, Doyle was on the scoreline in a defeat. Might he have scored the winner here through a crowd of players and beyond Lee Grant. In by Cork, away by Cameron. Alexander. Just wide from the Burnley captain there. Fell nicely here for Graham Alexander, and the skipper hit it well. Rodriguez sweeps it across to Mears. McSheffrey trying to come back to provide defensive cover. Here's Eagles. Terrific ball, Tyrone Mears. Rodriguez appeals for handball, and all Burnley get is a corner kick. The visitors convinced there that they should have had a penalty. As the ball's played back across, a shot from Rodriguez. David Webb not convinced at all that that should have been a penalty. Wallace. Awkward bounce for Cameron, and Thompson is almost through here. Elliott trying to turn, hits McPake. Thompson just wide. Great chance for Brian Law's team to equalise. Rodriguez putting the pressure on. Coventry unable to clear. Elliott's shot blocked, and then the return from Thompson goes wide. Former Coventry City manager John Sillett analysing the game for BBC Local Radio this afternoon. The Sky Blue song ringing out around the Ricoh Arena. Here's Lukas Jukovic. Goalkeepers come out, Grant, and Jukovic. Oh! Everybody inside the ground was expecting a second goal for Coventry then. That should have been 3 points done and dusted for the Sky Blues. Grant in no man's land. Jukovic puts it wide.
I asked for a performance before the game. We didn't particularly get a good performance, but what we got was a result, and that's what the Championship's all about. It's about making sure that even when you don't play well, you're organised and you're efficient, and we did that, and we managed to get a win against a very good team, I think.
I'm just disappointed with our own play rather than the way that Coventry was set about it. I just thought, yeah, we should have come away with something, but all we've come away with is disappointment.
Well, it wasn't the most fluent or the best performance you'll get from Coventry City, and I've seen them play a few times over the years. You got the impression 12 months ago that was the kind of game they might not have won.
Quite possibly. I mean, they're a very competitive side. they're not a side that many teams are going to enjoy playing against.
No, you've been in a game with them,
he asks, even when they don't play well, they're a difficult team to play against, which is a good sign. They're not a team who are going to go through a real dip of losing 10 games on the spin, because the way that they play says that they're going to set a certain standard every game, and that's exactly what they did today. Yes, okay, they possibly didn't do enough to win that game, and possibly might not have won that game, but as I say, they kept going, they kept making life difficult, they kept putting their bodies on the line, and then you take your hat off and say, in a way, that probably has just swung the balance in their favour.
One bit of real quality swung it for Coventry. First goal in 21 months for Michael Doyle.
It's a good goal.
Yeah.
Fantastic
Worth the wait,
strike.
wasn't it?
Yeah, no, real good strike as well. I mean, lots and lots of pace. A lot of people initially, you would look at that straight away and go, oh, maybe the keeper should have got to that, but as you can see, lots and lots of pace, great direction, and he takes it possibly a little bit earlier than the keeper expects. Good finish, and enough to separate the sides.
I think he's in the side because of injury to Sammy Klingen, but he might have given himself a head start now, that's for sure. Let's round off the Championship now, starting at Watford, where Malcolm Mackay's men welcomed Reading to the Vic.
Scott Loach was a late replacement in the England squad for the friendly against France, but it was back to the day job for the visit of Reading, and the Watford keeper's first job would be to pick the ball out of his own net. After a hint of handball from Shane Long in the build-up, the Irishman scampered clear and set up compatriot Noel Hunt for a third goal in as many games. For 5 minutes before the break, the home side were level. Jordan Much's corner met by a flying Troy Deeney. It was the striker's first goal in 9 league games. The Hornets defender Adrian Mariappa's indecision very nearly gifted Reading the lead, but Long couldn't quite get the better of Loach before Jem Karachan fired over. And soon after came the game's controversial moment. Loach looked to have punched Long instead of the ball. No penalty, and 2 years after Watford's infamous ghost goal in the same fixture, another big decision not to go Reading's way.
Real disappointment, really. We felt we should have won the game. We weathered the storm just after half-time, came right back into it and had opportunities to score. Referee should have given a penalty. He cleaned Shane Long out, and it was absolute nailed-on penalty, which he didn't give. And that's cost us again. Unfortunately, against Cardiff, we had a decision that went against us, and we've had another one today. So I'm sure that'll even itself out over a period of time.
Hull's new owner Asim Alam was at the KC, keen to see his team build on last week's first win in 9. Opponents Ipswich keen to get last week's home defeat to Barnsley out of their system, but the Tigers had the best of the first half chances. Kevin Kilban so close. Ian Ashby hasn't scored since the opening day. He too denied by the woodwork. The KC had seen just 5 Tigers League goals all season until Robert Corran popped up to shatter the stalemate. A second successive win for Hull, 3 straight defeats now for Ipswich.
It certainly wasn't a classic, but it probably looked like it was going to be nil written all over it, which we would have took as the away team, but that's just where things are going at the moment. The hard work is starting to pay off now, and I'm delighted for the players, and really delighted for the fans who had to stick with us through some pretty tough times in life.
Barnsley boss Mark Robbins described last weekend's away win at Ipswich as his side's best performance in his time as manager. It gave the Tykes back-to-back away wins, with midfielder Adam Hamill getting rave reviews. And the former Liverpool man continued his impressive start to the campaign here, a fine finish and his 7th goal of the season. Portsmouth badly lacked a cutting edge, this speculative Joel Ward effort the closest they came to scoring. But Barnsley in the end were well worth the points, their 3rd straight league win.
Bristol City upwardly mobile in recent weeks, but their home form remained a concern ahead of a visit from informed Leicester. Just 1 league win at Ashton Gate all season, the home side could have been a goal down in this match when David James hauled down Andy King. The former England keeper is 40 now, but those reflexes still razor sharp as he's saved from Steve Howard. Brett Pittman hadn't scored at this level since signing from League One Bournemouth. The former Cherry broke his duck in his 13th game for the Robins, turning in Jamie McAllister's free kick, despite the best efforts of Richie Wellens on the line. The home side sealed the points in spectacular fashion, Chris Wheel hasty in his distribution, but punished brilliantly. Sub David Clarkson's quick thinking, easing the Robins' relegation fears, and ending Leicester's 4-match unbeaten run.
After an impressive loan spell at Swansea, Dutchman Marvin Emnes was called back to the Riverside for the visit of Millwall, and while 19,000 had turned up to see Tony Mowbray's first game in charge, today it was just 15,000, with empty seats aplenty. But the hosts almost went ahead early on, Chris Boyd with a smart turn and shot. Borough have managed just the one clean sheet at home all season, and they went behind midway through the first half. Liam Trotter's good work down the left led to a debut goal for Jason Puncheon after arriving on loan from Southampton. And Borough had scored in every home game in the Championship this season, and it took a fine save from David Ford to ruin that statistic. Luke Williams with a header. And 6 minutes into stoppage time, a goal line clearance from James Henry secured an impressive away win for Millwall, their first on Teesside since 1967.
I didn't know that stat, but big win for us. We've had a run of poor results the last 4 games. We haven't got what the performances have deserved. The performances have been good, and generally, you know, we've had a solid base. We've been competitive, and we haven't scored enough goals. I am pleased to say, though, that 1 was enough today.
It was indeed, and from a debutant in Jason Puncheon, who Saints fans are quite surprised that he's left on loan to go to Millwall, but he'll certainly do a job for them, won't he?
He will. I mean, I think the addition of Henry, Andrew and Puncheon just gives them that little bit of creativity, gives them a few options going forward that possibly maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago Millwall didn't have. And, you know, Morrison was looking at a tad isolated in some of the games.
Yeah, Hull have had a woeful home record this season. They've lost their last 3, but they picked up a valuable win today, thanks to a great goal from Corrin. But it inflicts yet more misery on Ipswich.
Yeah, I mean, it's so close, isn't it, that, you know, one defeat either way and all of a sudden there's pressure, and then your season's a good season and it's a bad season. It flip-flops so quickly. I'm surprised that you know, he took so long to get picked up, Robert Corrin, because I thought he was a good player and he's a free transfer in the summer, so good addition to the ranks for them.
Yeah, Adam Hamill is quickly becoming a player that Barnsley fans will be desperate to keep hold of in January. Another great strike from him.
Came out of Liverpool and obviously you know, just lost his way a little bit there and got caught in no man's land between sort of the youth team and the first team, and he's gone now and he's playing first team football at Barnsley, and clearly he's really enjoying being part of it, and there's nothing like actually feeling part of a football club. I mean, it's so much better than playing reserve team football, I can assure you.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right, let's hear from Lizzie then, shall we, and hear from Championship fans. So what have they got to say for themselves? Lizzie, over to you.
Well, they've been very busy tonight, but we'll start off talking about attendances, which I asked at the top of the show, which has been low at many clubs this season. Although, of course, I've been reminded by Leeds fans, Derby fans and Norwich fans that they're not suffering at all. Although Gaz does say that Ken Bates is charging too much at Leeds. He says 25 quid for the cheapest match and even more for bigger games. But most of you seem to think it's a combination of factors, as I guess we would expect. A lot of you simply don't want to pay the players high wages. Martin is one of those, and he says also that the cheapest Bristol City ticket is 27 quid, and he reckons he can watch Premier League football for £23, including travel. But Phil, a Coventry fan, says 28,000 last home game, then 3 losses in a week, and it was 14,000 today. Enough said. Dean says, I can't really afford to pay 70 quid for my family to watch Barnsley. But Yvonne says that Doncaster Rovers tickets were 10 quid today for adults and £1 for juniors, nearly a full house, which shows, I guess, that the lowering the gate prices helps people come. And actually, Chris wants me to thank the Donny chairman for lowering those prices as well. Lots of get well soons for Dexter Blackstock. Tom, we get Lewis McGugan text every week, but Tom says it's obvious who's going to win goal of the season because all the goals will be by Lewis McGugan. And Wivster and Gaz want to know what Steve thinks about him. They say if Bothroyd can get an England call up, what about Lewis McGugan, Steve?
Yes, well, let's give it a little bit of time, shall we? Three or four fantastic goals. I'm not quite sure we should elevate him to that status yet, but he's doing extremely well, and Forest have certainly picked up and borne the fruits of that, haven't they?
All right, thanks, Steve. Palace fans, as you can imagine, pretty unhappy. Burnley losing faith with the management. Richard, Derby fan, wants us to give a mention to Thomas Sifka. He thinks that we only talk about English players. Well, of course, that's not the case. So Thomas Sifka, well done from Richard. Obviously, QPR, lots of QPR fans. Tarapt was apparently fantastic today, and I think he's been quite good since we mentioned him on the show, actually, talking about him hogging the ball too much. There's League One next.
It is indeed. And when Brighton's owners sold the Goldstone ground for redevelopment back in 1995, their supporters, they had no idea it would take so long to find a place they could call home. Well, as the league leaders prepared for their game with Bristol Rovers at the Withdean, Clem's been getting a progress report on the new ground the club will be moving into next season.
Nearly a generation of supporters have grown up while the Brighton Stadium saga was rumbling on. They first identified the site in 1998 and put in an initial planning application in 2001, but with their proposal straddling the boundary between two councils and being in an area of outstanding natural beauty, it took until mid-2007 to finally be passed. But only after 2 public inquiries, a High Court challenge and government intervention. Ow!
Okay, so this is it.
Wow. I think there's a little hole in my Wellingtons. My socks are getting a little bit wet. Now that you are reaching this stage, how do you feel that the project is finally nearing its end after 14 years?
It's an amazing feeling. I can't almost describe it. It's emotional. To see it appear like this is just the most wonderful, wonderful feeling that we've achieved it. Okay, we've won 2 championships. We've been relegated, we've gone up and down, we've fought for every penny to keep the club afloat, we've managed it, we're now in the most amazing place and it's just wonderful.
93 million, 22,500 capacity and set 3 stories into the ground, 138,000 cubic metres of chalk have been excavated to make the stadium nestle within the South Downs, the equivalent of how many of these? Your office. In you go.
Hey!
Now I think it's fair to say, Gus, it's a little bit basic at the moment.
It's basic, but to be at the stadium is quite big, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it'll close when you've got your big fridge over there that your champagne goes in and things like
Champagne,
that.
only celebrated.
And then your sofa down here, and then your desk over there.
Computer in there, always to check. No, it's nice. It's going to be a different class. Huh? But at the same time, we need to make sure that we do the job on the pitch first, in the pitch, and make sure that when we get here, we are in the championship.
Do you feel a little bit for your predecessors who have been here holding the fort at the club, but the stadium wasn't ready, and now you have the chance to do what all these managers over the last decade didn't?
I think you are spot on. I'm saying all of them, probably they were thinking, I'm going to be the one leading the team in there. I got a great chance. I need to make sure that I'm here next August.
It's been more convenient than the 2 seasons they had to ground share with Gillingham, but the 12 years Brighton have been playing at the Theatre of Trees was only supposed to be a temporary measure. What's life been like at the Withdy?
Where do you want to begin? It's been nice to have a home, but we get rained on so often throughout the season.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Can't wait for the new stadium to get here.
Poyet's managerial qualities were about to be put to the test. Byron Anthony's header got a touch from Albion's Gary Dicker, which gave Kasper Ankergren little chance, and the home side faced an uphill struggle. Dicker almost undid the damage with a pass which ricocheted kindly to Ashley Barnes, but Mikael Andersson was quick off his line to protect Bristol Rovers' lead. So Brighton were forced to wait until midway through the second half for their breakthrough. Rovers' wound self-inflicted as Jeff Hughes accidentally turned home Marcus Painter's cross. Lifted by that, Poyet's men pushed hard for a winner, and when Glenn Murray's smart turn saw the striker tripped, Albion's new boy up front seized the chance to score on his debut. New Zealand international Chris Wood on loan from West Brom with an impressive penalty. Rovers threw everyone forward at the end and again found Albion's Achilles heel. Corners proving problematic in the past week. Elliot Bennett's own goal saw the Pirates plunder a point and the chasing pack gain ground on the leaders.
Grumpy?
Yes, bad day, but honest, we deserve it because we didn't do what we had to do. So, you know, when you deserve something, good or bad, you need to accept it.
You confident that Brighton will be moving into the new stadium playing championship football?
I hope so. We are in a good position, even if we drew today, we're still top. So, you know, I know that people get frustrated very easily, but it's a long way, but we got a chance.
Well, there certainly have been long-suffering fans over at Brighton. It has to be said, doesn't it? I mean, this new ground has taken a while to be up and running, but it's almost there. And, you know, that hope is, by the way they're doing on the pitch, is coming together nicely.
Well, it'd be lovely, wouldn't it, if they could go into a new ground, actually having a promotion. And it's a side that can progress as well. It's a side that can go into the Championship and, you know, and punch their weight, because with a new ground, I mean, they were always getting, you know, could get average 15, 16,000 at that level before. There's absolutely no reason why they can't. And that, you know, if you're punching at that sort of level, it gives you a chance in the Championship.
Yeah, and there's certainly, he's being supported in the back room as well,
Yes,
isn't he?
of course.
In the boardroom, rather,
Absolutely.
because Zengalualoa's out, Chris Wood comes in.
Yeah.
Not all clubs at that level can bring in players
There's
like
one or
that.
two players that, you know, certainly wouldn't be able to push the boat out like Brighton have done, but then also he's got faith in the manager who's done his job well, so it's a double-edged
Kind
sword.
of complementing each
Do
other
your
in a
job
way.
well, thankfully there's someone above you who's going to give you the ammunition to help you along the way.
And if a report's to be believed that Gus has turned down the Chelsea's number 2 job, it's a feather in the cap for Brighton, it has to be said. Well, staying in League One, Charlton have shown what a difference a month can have on your league position. Having been hit for 4 by Brighton in mid-October, the Addicts have won 4 league games on the spin to move up from 14th to 2nd. On Saturday, they took on Yeovil.
Charlton continued their irresistible form once Johnny Jackson had set them on their way against Yeovil inside 11 minutes. A neat first-time finish following Lee Martin's cross. But the Glovers belied their record of 5 league games without a win when they levelled just 6 minutes later. Sam Williams teeing up namesake Andrew, and his finish couldn't have been much better. The Addicts responded within 9 minutes, and again another quality strike, this time from Terry Rackon after he'd been set up by Matt Fry. But Yeovil weren't finished either. A Gavin Williams free kick resulted in a spot of penalty area pinball and an own goal credited to Gary Doherty. The visitors then had a chance to go on and claim an unlikely victory when Charlton were reduced to 10 men. Veteran defender Christian Daly receiving a straight red for use of the elbow on Sam Williams. But in the last few minutes, another red card, and this one would prove to be decisive. Skipper Paul Huntington guilty of bringing down Akpo Soje. Double trouble for the Glovers, with Huntington on his way, and Charlton awarded a penalty too. Prior to last week's win at Peterborough, Jackson had never scored 2 in a game. Now he's done it in successive matches, and this one ensured Charlton's 5th league win in a row.
Orient gave Blackburn's on-loan keeper Jason Brown his debut, and Bournemouth's Mark Pugh welcomed him with a goal of Premier League quality. That ferocious strike had Eddie Howe's promotion hopefuls in front after just 2 minutes, and they were quick out of the blocks in the second half too. Harry Arter's pass releasing Pugh for his 2nd of the match. Bournemouth appeared to be firmly in command, but 10 minutes from time their afternoon took a turn for the worse, as keeper Shwan Jalal was involved in a heavy collision. Howe had to send on John Stewart in his place, and the substitute keeper endured a torrid time. With 5 minutes left, he got his angles all wrong, and Jonathan Tahui took advantage to give Orient a glimmer of hope. Deep into stoppage time, the Frenchman came up trumps again, sentencing the Cherries to their 4th successive draw on the road, and showing once again that on their own patch, the O's are no pushover.
It takes a brave man to bet on a Walsall win these days, but League One's bottom club ripped up the form book to send high-flying Carlisle packing, even though the free-scoring visitors forged ahead when Mike Greller smashed in on 26 minutes. But the Saddlers, looking to avoid a 5th league defeat on the spin, responded magnificently thanks to the deadly left boot of Matt Richards. Carlisle failed to heed the warning. James Berrett sent Paul Marshall sprawling, and Richards licked his lips at the prospect of another enticing free kick. This time a different routine, but executed with the same devastating effect to put Walsall on the verge of a memorable win. Gary Medine almost rescued a point late on, but the crossbar came to the rescue. A shot in the arm for Walsall, who go to Hillsborough next.
Huddersfield's up and down season took another dip, but not through a lack of effort against Exeter. Jordan Rhodes was out of luck, hitting the bar and then failing to keep his 2nd attempt on target. The Grecians broke the deadlock on 36 minutes. Richard Duffy with his first goal this calendar year, a powerful header from Ryan Harley's corner. The Terriers had scored twice in stoppage time to edge past Cambridge in the Cup in midweek, but there was no late turnaround this time. Keeper Artur Krysiak denying Anthony Pilkington. Back-to-back league wins for Exeter.
This was a rarity in the league, an abundance of goals in a Hartlepool away game. Paul Murray's superb first-time strike gave the edge to a club who previously scored just 4 times on the road in League One. Only for Colchester's Andy Bond to find the same corner after the break. Just the 4th league goal Mick Wadsworth's men had conceded on their travels. And this time the excitement continued. 3 minutes later, Magnus Okwonge's determination was obvious. Jake Keane parried the pile driver, but Coyote Odejayi was first to the rebound. 2 minutes from time, Evan Horwood's fantastic free kick seemed to have saved the day for Hartlepool. But the officials handed the home side victory with a big mistake in stoppage time. If Peter Hartley did handle the ball, it certainly wasn't inside the box. Without the benefit of a replay, referee Oliver Langford saw it as a penalty. And Ian Henderson duly clinched 3 points for the promotion chasers to move them up to 3rd.
Given a stay of execution by a High Court judge over unpaid taxes, this was just the result Alan Irvine was looking for after a trying week. But things didn't start well at Stadium MK. Aaron Jamieson, making his professional debut in place of the injured Nicky Weaver, was beaten by Mark Carrington's drive as the Dons took a 6-minute lead. But an inspired display from Neil Mellor led Wednesday to a 4th consecutive win in all competitions. The striker met Chris Sedgwick's cross midway through the half to level the scores. And when Mellor's centre was turned into his own net by Luke Chadwick just 5 minutes later, the Dons' hopes of maintaining their unbeaten home record began to slip away. Mellor made sure there was no way back deep into the second half when Gary Teal picked him out as he headed home his 11th of the season. Wednesday could be plunged into administration unless they can find a buyer in the next few weeks. A 10-point penalty, the last thing they need, especially on this form. Mellor claimed his 2nd hat-trick in 3 games with 7 minutes left to lift the Owls into 5th.
I can't remember the last time I scored a header. The lads have been giving me some stick. It was probably about 2 or 3 years ago. But no, delighted to get on the score sheet, delighted to get the match ball. But you know, the most important thing was 3 points and get ourselves back in the mix at the top of the table again.
I keep on saying that we need to concentrate on getting things right on the pitch. What happens off the pitch, we can't control, so let's not worry about it.
Yeah, Neil Mellor giving Wednesday fans something to smile about. Him and Morrison, I forgot his name for a second. Those two, Clinton Morrison, they're looking good for Wednesday at the minute.
Yeah, it's nice that Neil Mellor's actually now sort of looks settled, looks like he's enjoying his football. You know, there's sometimes a little bit of question marks about his application and just exactly how much he loves playing football, but clearly he's enjoying himself now. And when he's like that and he's in that frame of mind, then he's a good player.
Now, so 2 wins for Charlton and Colchester courtesy of late penalties. You call this one staggering, the Colchester late penalty.
Well, I cannot understand how he's given it. Just watch his reaction here, the referee. Okay, it's clearly, I mean, it's never in a million years is it inside. But now watch the referee's reaction here. What does he do? He looks at the linesman. He keeps looking at the linesman, keeps looking at the linesman. Linesman doesn't show that it's a penalty.
He's gone for a punt, hasn't he?
Well, he just takes the decision into his own hands. Clearly he's not sure about whether or not it's a penalty and makes a big decision that ultimately cost them the game. And I mean, that's, you know, you can understand why people get frustrated and angry at referees when they do things like that.
Yeah, a major relief for Chris Hutchings and Walsall, and he will be delighted to at least see his players come back from behind. So as he fights on, so do his players. More from League One then, and it's fair to say watching Peterborough has been a tad unpredictable of late. The one thing you're guaranteed, though, is goals. Well, Posh travelled to Southampton, and they're a team very much on the up.
Southampton seem to be turning St Mary's into a fortress, with Lee Barnard setting them on course for a 6th straight home victory against fast-falling Peterborough on 28 minutes. Strangely, these two sides were meeting in the league for the very first time, and it was Saints making sure it was a first encounter to remember when Jose Fonte's towering header had doubled the advantage shortly after the restart. This weekend also marked the 125th anniversary of the club's first ever match, and as birthday presents go, Richard Chaplow's stunning volley on 50 minutes really was the icing on the cake. Posh briefly threatened to spoil the party mood when Aaron McLean reduced the deficit with 14 minutes left, but Peterborough have lost 4 of their last 5 in the league and are leaking goals all over the place. And inevitably, Saints added a 4th. Brazilian substitute Gulli de Prado with a first-time finish. Happy birthday Southampton, who'll hope to keep the party atmosphere going on Tuesday night when table-topping Brighton come to town.
Oldham are on the fringes of the top 6, but they had to weather early pressure from a Dagenham side desperate not to lose ground in the survival race. Roman Vanslo thwarted by Dean Brill. But the Latics, chasing a 3rd straight league win, took maximum points thanks to debutant Aidan White. Chris Taylor set up Amari Tunkara, and the Leeds loanee was on hand to slam home the winner just before the hour.
Pre-match, Swindon boss Danny Wilson suggested an early lead would test Rochdale's confidence. Michael Timlin obliged after keeper Josh Lillis was caught by surprise inside the first minute. But Dale, who'd lost 6 of their last 7 games, bounced back. Leschenal Jean-Francois penalised for handball, allowing skipper Gary Jones to lead by example. And the home side completed their turnaround after the break. Close control from Scunthorpe loanee Bobby Grant clinched him a goal on his debut. That the start of a manic 16 minutes. Swindon struck back with the ball bobbling around the box, and Charlie Austin showing the scoring instinct which has bagged him 11 goals this season. Rochdale rocked, and the next attack earned Swindon a free kick, which Michael Rose used to maximum effect. But there was still time for one final twist in a gripping contest. Jones launching himself at Anthony Alding's deflected cross to earn the home side their first point in 3 outings.
Brentford made it 3 away wins in succession at Plymouth. Keeper Romain Larrieux performed a miracle to deny Michael Spillane, but could do nothing as Marcus Bean put away the rebound. New Zealand World Cup hero Rory Fallon hadn't been on the score sheet since February, which is pretty amazing when you look at the quality of this finish, which put the Pilgrims on level terms 7 minutes before the interval. But midway through the second half, Charlie McDonald's 5th of the season in all competitions proved sufficient for all 3 points to head back to West London, leaving Plymouth hovering nervously above the relegation zone.
Some had this down as a 6-pointer. Too early for that perhaps, but the importance of a win was not to be taken lightly. Ben Davies went close to giving County the lead. After being second best in the first half, Tranmere edged ahead just 5 minutes after the resumption. Ian Thomas-Moore picked out Enoch Shawunmi, and the big number 7 made it 7 for the season, an emphatic style. Paul Ince wants his team to sharpen up in front of goal as he goes in search of that first league win. Mike Edwards should have levelled. But Tranmere held out for a crucial win that moves them 6 points clear of danger, a result only soured by the dismissal of Joss Labadie for this kick on Ricky Ravenhill. But bigger problems ahead for County, who drop into the bottom 4.
So Enoch Shawunmi getting on the score sheet again, and it looks like Les Parry's getting the best out of the player. I know he's been injured for a while, but 4 wins out of 5 now for Rovers. Mid-table security, I think, is what the supporters are looking for.
Yeah, well, he didn't start the season very well last year, did they? And
he's got a tiny budget to work with.
Yeah, he's pulled it round again, and this is, I mean, as it stands, it's just fine, isn't it?
It is indeed. As for Peterborough, well, I mentioned it at the beginning, you're not quite sure what you're going to get with them. They just can't keep on conceding. Well, you know you're going to get goals scored and conceded.
Goals against,
37 now.
Yeah, you're going to get bad defending in the main, aren't you? And we look at this, and it was a perfect example of exactly why they're conceding so many goals. I mean, that's a quality strike. Probably given a little bit too much time, but then all of a sudden, long punts into the box, and they're not attacking the ball. They're not making life difficult for the opponents. This is another example. We always blame defences. Look at the midfield runner here, Chaplow comes in drifts in from midfield. No one's picking up the run, and no one's actually tracking the run. And at this stage, they're far too easy to play against. They're far too easy to score goals against. Because in the main, and we've seen this week in, week out, a lot of these goals could be stopped at source, and they're not.
Yeah, a cracking game between Rochdale and Swindon. Bobby Grant, who scored goals, and you'll get goals from him.
Yeah, absolutely. A fantastic game. I mean, you wouldn't not an awful lot on the game as such, because both teams are sort of like fair to middling. But yeah, fantastic spectacle and some good finishes and some quality play in the game. So yeah, thoroughly decent spectacle.
Right, let's hear from League One fans then, shall we, tonight? Lizzie, what can you tell us?
Well, quickly rewind to Championship, because I've been reminded by quite a few Borough fans, including Paul and Liam, that their low attendance is all to do with a protest. I thought that had gone when Gordon Strachan went, but obviously not. League One fans, though, your kind of problems maybe with Gates seem to be dominated by ticket prices. Dave says Gates are down at Walsall because you can't keep shelling out to watch displays that poor every week. Mark says 23 quid a ticket at NK Dons, no wonder attendances are poor. Hashim says I went to Leyton Orient Bournemouth and paid £22. In contrast, it cost Spurs fans going to the San Siro only €18. One interesting reason from a Tranmere fan called Robert, he says the fact that attendances are down is because they won't let you sit at the top of the Kop, and it just takes away from the atmosphere. Also, food prices were mentioned. Richard says Charlton Athletic charged me £4 for a meat pie. I bet it doesn't taste very nice either. My favourite ticket initiative, though, is Tom. He says Huddersfield have a 70s theme night on Tuesdays. If you dress up in 70s gear, all the tickets are £7. So there you go, you have to go to Huddersfield. JJQ says I was disappointed to hear a few Brighton fans moaning after Bristol Rovers scored the last-minute equaliser, saying the wheels have gone off the Gus bus. Well, he reckons it's just a slight puncture. Charlton fans getting a little bit excited about promotion prospects. Remember what happened last season, Charlton. Rupert says, can Colchester United ever keep a clean sheet? We play awfully and survive by luck alone. Ken wants me to remind everybody that there are teams west of Bristol. He's an Exeter fan. Luke pointed out that we never hear from Leyton Orient fans. He says, brilliant comeback against Bournemouth for the Chicken Orientals. Mark, who's a Sheffield Wednesday after their brilliant win today, says Alan Irvine has finally realised attack is the best form of defence. We've had so many emails. Apologies I haven't got through them. I've got to say well done to Chris, though, who used the words capitulation in his text today. That's got to win an award.
Yeah, good word. We've got to correct you on one thing, though, Lizzie. The meat pies at Charlton, according to Claridge, are quality.
I had 3 of them the last. Boy, did I punish myself afterwards. Lovely they were.
Extra mile on the treadmill
Fantastic,
later.
Absolutely.
On to League Two then. Leaders Chesterfield faced a tricky test against Aldershot Town, with the shots fresh from their midweek exploits after knocking Brentford out of the FA Cup. Before we get into that, though, here's a closer look at Aldershot, who've had their fair share of ups and downs over the years.
The original Aldershot FC was founded in 1926 and joined the Football League in 1932. And nicknamed the Shots, partly because of the third syllable of the name and partly because of the military garrison that dominates the town. Not to be confused with the actor of the same name who played Albert Tatlock in Coronation Street, their record goal scorer was Jack Howarth, who found the net 171 times over 2 spells between 1965 and 77. The highest ever league position was 1974's 8th in the 3rd Division. In 1987, the first year the playoffs were staged, they won promotion from the 4th Division by humiliating Wolves 3-0 in a 2-legged final. During the 1984-5 season, they signed a young striker called Teddy Sheringham on loan from Millwall, whose manager George Graham had been willing to sell him on a permanent basis, but Aldershot couldn't afford the £5,000 fee. It was a taste of things to come.
The 4th Division football club Aldershot has been wound up in the High Court.
When Aldershot FC were wound up by the High Court in March 1992, they became the first Football League club to resign mid-season since Accrington Stanley in 1962. A new club, Aldershot Town, was started by a group of supporters and began the following season in the 5th tier of non-league football. The club crest, a rising phoenix, was designed by actor, comedian and club president Arthur English. In 2008, 16 years and 5 promotions later, Aldershot Town were in the Football League. A return secured with a record conference points total.
Determined to prove last week's surprise home defeat to Burton was just a blip, Chesterfield looked to bounce back at Aldershot. The home side held the division's leading scorers at bay for an hour, but they could do little to stop Craig Davis, whose superb strike put the Spyrites on top and dash Aldershot's hopes of a First League win in 5. In fact, those hopes were wiped out completely just 2 minutes later. Davis found space before picking out Jack Lester, who then spotted Danny Whittaker. His neat finish took his tally for the season to 9, a perfect response to keep Chesterfield top of the pile.
It's not been a crisis, but Port Vale haven't exactly been prolific in the league lately, with 4 goalless draws in their last 5 outings. This early miss from Justin Richards suggested that we might be on for another no-score draw here. But all Vale needed to get back on track was a central defender's touch in front of goal. Rob Taylor's cross was fired back across goal by Mark Richards, and there was John McComb stooping to conquer from about a yard out. Wickham came in as League Two's best travellers, unbeaten in 8 road trips this season, and they were level inside 5 minutes. Dave Winfield with his first goal in over a year. But Vale are at their most dangerous when the Richards boys are doing their stuff. And when Justin found space down the left and teed up namesake Mark, it looked a certain goal. Chairboys keeper Nicky Bull had other ideas. It took McComb to show them how to do it, with the winner just past the hour. The big centre-half's first league goals of the season, sufficient to keep Vale tucked in just behind Chesterfield at the head of the table.
There could have been a miserable Sunday in store for Southend's Anthony Grant, pondering the perfectly timed run he made to get onto Sean Cloes's cross, only to smash the ball wide of the mark. A miss that looked like it would be extremely costly, as Shrewsbury's Jake Robinson scampered down the wing just after the break and saw his centre knocked down for Mark Wright to thump in the opener. Graham Turner's high flyers held that lead until just 3 minutes from the end, when Sean McAllister's mistake left his side in trouble, and Grant made sure watching the highlights would be bearable after all. Shrewsbury are still unbeaten at home, but kicking themselves.
Not a great week for Paul Pescasolido. The Burton boss, who had his car stolen on Monday, watched Mike Jones put promotion-chasing Bury in the driving seat in the Friday night fog. The midfielder's breathtaking run with a finish to match gave the Shakers a 10th minute lead. But Burton, who toppled league leaders Chesterfield last weekend, hit back just before the half hour. Adam Boulder's shot proving too hot to handle for Owen Finn-Williams, and James Collins helped himself to his 4th goal in the last 5 league games. So level at the break, but a dominant second half display saw Bury rack up a 5th straight away success. Nicky Ajose had them on course for the automatic spots when he lobbed them in front 8 minutes after the restart. The destination of the points were never really in doubt. Andy Howarth's mesmeric run almost increased the score. The former Blackburn trainee singled out for special praise by his manager Alan Knill. Only a lick of paint denied him a memorable second of the season. But the visitors made absolutely sure of the point soon after, when 38-year-old Effie Soji crashed in Bury's 3rd. Knill's men keep on climbing.
A home debut to forget for Crewe defender Adam Dugdale. Less than 90 seconds on the clock when a corner from Rotherham's Kevin Ellison created havoc in the home penalty area, the luckless Dugdale getting the decisive touch for an own goal. Being thumped by non-league York in midweek seemed to have stung the Millers, and they were almost 2 in front. Ryan Taylor denied by the crossbar following Adam Lafondra's free kick. In the second half, Dugdale attempted to atone for his earlier error, only to be denied by a fingertip save from Jamie Anderson. It really wasn't his day. Despite the obvious save, the poor old Crewe youngster didn't even get a corner out of it. Rotherham then had the chance to make sure of all 3 points when Patrick Adar handled under pressure from Lafondra. Not much argument about the verdict, and probably not much doubt that the division's top scorer would add to his goal tally for the season. But for once, Lafondra came off second best, denied by on-loan Chelsea keeper Rhys Taylor. Luckily for the Millers, it didn't matter.
Even after winning at Bury last week, Stockport knew Torquay would be a tough nut to crack, and the Devon club took the lead just past the hour. Ashley Hemmings unlucky, Ewan O'Kane in the right place at the right time. So Torquay were set to stretch their unbeaten league run away from home to half a dozen games, but they were denied maximum points by the man who scored Stockport's cup consolation at Peterborough midweek. This time, Greg Tansey's goal counted for something.
Yeah, interesting news from Torquay. They're keeping hold of Elliot Benin, is what Paul Buckle has said, from an unnamed League One club. Shows the direction they're heading in, that's for sure. A couple of impressive results, though. Let's talk about Port Vale versus Wickham, 2 pre-season favourites, flexing their muscle, resulting in a good performance from Port Vale.
Good game as well, actually, yeah. Nip and tuck, could have gone either way, but a little bit of quality, as we saw from the Richards boys up front, and that proved to be the difference. But you do get the feeling both of those will be knocking on the door.
Yeah, and we're not going to forget the game that Bury played. It may have been on Friday night, fifth away win, consecutive away win for them. It's, I mean, for Alan Neil, you know, this third consecutive promotion campaign could come good at the end of it.
Yeah, doing it in a little bit of style as well, aren't they? Look like they've got good players going forward.
Andy Howard looks good from Blackburn.
Yeah, looks.
You said he looks a bit like Ronaldo.
Well, you looked at the way he played, and
yeah.
You know, there was remnants of, as you say, of Ronaldo. But no, they look good going forward. They've got a youthful side, and they look as if they're going to cause people problems.
Yeah, Nicky Jose is doing well from his loan at Manchester United. The rest of League Two then, what a first season in the Football League Stevenage are having. A midweek cup win against MK Dons and 8th place in League Two confirms they're settling in pretty nicely. Well, on Saturday, they're on the road to Accrington, a team they know well from their conference days.
No love lost in this tetchy affair, where the officials did well to keep the bookings down to 5. Stevenage may have fancied their chances against an Accrington side without a win in 6 matches. But Chris Holroyd saw his effort chalked off for a foul in the build-up, and Stanley seized their victory midway through the second half. Jimmy Ryan's first attempted defence splitter came straight back, but his second ball in was a beauty, which Sean McConville used to move the team up into mid-table.
Macclesfield are creeping up the table. 3 points at Bradford puts them just outside the playoff places. 1 goal was enough to settle this one. Ross Draper seized on a poor clearance to drill the Silkmen ahead midway through the first half. Bradford, with 4 wins from their previous 6 league outings, found Macclesfield in stubborn mood. The fingertips of Jose Vega kept David Sayers off the score sheet. Peter Taylor's men continued to dominate but came up short. Sayers left frustrated by the woodwork this time as Macclesfield stretched their unbeaten run to 6 matches.
These two met in the FA Cup a fortnight ago, with the home side scoring the only goal of the game. Deja vu then for Cheltenham, who went in front just before the break. Where's Thomas's scuffed shot falling perfectly for Josh Lowe. And it looked like 1 goal might be enough again as Morecambe pressed in vain for an equaliser. Keeper Scott Brown repelled Andrew Fleming, then watched in relief as his goalmouth seemed to lead a charmed life. But with just 10 minutes remaining, the Shrimps got their just desserts when pressure finally told. Martin Riley tripped up James Spencer right in front of referee Darren Sheldrake, who didn't have to think about his decision for long. Phil Jevons kept his cool to roll in his 5th goal from his last 3 league matches and give the visitors a well-deserved share of the spoils.
At long last, Gillingham can rejoice. Courtesy of Jake Wright's slip and Cody MacDonald's composure, the longest-suffering away fans in the Football League finally have something to shout about. The Kent club's first win on the road since May last year, a run encompassing 35 games in all competitions. Steve McLean was close to sparing Oxford from their 4th successive league defeat, but for once, the Gills went home happy.
Barnet have had several good hidings this season, but for a change the boot was on the other foot as they dispatched Northampton. But when Leon McKenzie opened the scoring on 6 minutes, Bees boss Mark Stimpson must have been fearing the worst. Instead, what he got was a performance that could have led to a much bigger win, their cause helped by the 9th-minute dismissal of Liam Davis for bringing down Stephen Cabba. Davis taking Northampton's tally of red cards for the season to 5. Cabba then did the necessary from 12 yards to level the scores in a busy opening period. And the Bees pressed home their numerical advantage by taking the lead just before the break. George Frankham had the ball taken off his toes, but Cabba was on hand to lash in his 2nd of the day and double his tally for the season. 2 minutes after the restart, Stimpson's men had the benefit of a 2-goal cushion, courtesy of Grant Basie's superb free kick. And 3 became 4 right at the death. Cabba's neat flick teeing up Ricky Holmes, a win that lifts Barnet off the bottom.
Hereford's 7-match unbeaten run under caretaker boss Jamie Pittman came to an end as Lincoln continued their improvement under new management. Ben Hutchinson putting Steve Tilson's side in front, the Celtic Loonies' 4th league goal of the season. And the Imps had doubled their advantage 7 minutes later. A perfectly placed cross from Mustafa Karayol setting up Delroy Facey with his 1st of the campaign. Lincoln on course for their 2nd league win in a row. Hereford briefly threatened that outcome 10 minutes into the second half. Matthew Monsey's shot too hot to handle for Joe Anyon, and a touch of real quality from the informed Stuart Fleetwood. That was his 5th from his last 6 matches in all competitions. But 2 minutes later, Lincoln had wrapped it up with another classy finish. Carayol doing it all on his own for his 3rd league goal of the season. The result dumps Hereford back to the foot of the table, but the Bulls also have an early chance at revenge. They host Lincoln in the Cup next weekend.
Steve Tilson, we mentioned it last week, Lincoln now have scored more in their last 2 games than they had done in the previous 9. So something's happening there now.
Yeah, they've won, as I say, 2 in the league and 1 in the Cup. Starting to turn around. He's experienced at that level. He knows what it takes.
Yeah, we've got to mention Macclesfield on a terrific performance and a great run of form under Gary Simpson. He says their target is still 50 points. It could be even better than that at the end of the season.
Yeah, well, you're doing like he's now got his.
He's got to temper those expectations, of course.
Yes, he's got his head in his hands now after what you've just said, because everybody now thinks they're going to get promoted. No,
don't hold me responsible.
He's got to be realistic, and obviously that is their first brief, is to stay up, and that's what he'll be looking to do. Anything after that, fantastic.
Andy Hessenthaler, well done to him
Well
and his
done.
Gillingham team.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because it's probably been it's been a run.
It's been a horrendous 2 or 3 weeks. For
like a stone around the neck for them, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, aided and abetted by shall we say, a mistake from Oxford, who are, in free fall themselves, but it's a good result, and maybe get that monkey off their back now, and now all of a sudden, we can see them picking up some more away victories.
I wonder how many Gillingham fans have actually made it home from that game at Oxford. We'll find out now, shall we? So what can you tell us, Lizzie?
I can tell you it's plenty, and they've all been texting and emailing us, but first of all, just quickly talk about the attendances. We'll start with a positive one. Adam says Bradford have just announced a season ticket offer for next season of £150, which works out at £6.52 a game. Mikey, though, Gills fan, says even with an away win, it's still too expensive to watch 4th Division football each week. And as I say, talking of Gillingham fans, Sarah says, oh my God, am I dreaming? Danny, Kev, Ian, Philip, Bradley, John, Barry, Sam, Aaron and Jamie wants me to sing a Jingle Bells song. Can't sing, Manish will kill me. But a question for Steve from Marky Mark. He says, I know we've talked about this earlier on in the season, Steve, but why has it taken the Gills such a long time to get an away win? Is it a fluke, or is it that they were better away today?
I don't think it's a fluke. I think why teams struggle away from home is that sometimes sides are good with the ball but not as good without the ball, and that doesn't tend to stand you in good stead when you go away from home. It's much, you have more of the possession at home rather than away from home. So that's it. A little bit more steel now. Andy Hessenthaler's been there a little while now. He knows what it takes now to start getting results away from home, and hopefully that'll be the first of many for them.
OK, thanks, Steve. I know you were talking about Bury earlier. Ryan says Alan Neil is working wonders on a shoestring budget at Bury. This could be our year. Joe, Northampton fan, not having a good birthday with the Barnet result. Loads of Silkman want me to give Macclesfield a mention. Very depressed and moralised Bantam Pete. And final word, no Lincoln City fans, I'm sorry, no time. Final word has to go to Phil. He says, please will you mention our football attendances are still the highest in the world for 2nd, 3rd and 4th tiers. No other country comes close. Thanks for those texts and emails.
Yeah, and if your email and text didn't get through to us, there's always next week, of course. Well, before we go, let's take a look at what all the results means to the league tables. In NPower League 2, the top 2 remain unchanged after they both won. But Bury's 5th away win in a row on Friday night moves them up into the automatic promotion spots. In for Macclesfield win again to climb up into 8th and on the brink of the playoff places. At the bottom, Hereford find themselves at the foot once again after losing at Lincoln, whilst Barnet came from behind to beat Northampton. And Gillingham's first away win in 31 league games eases their relegation worries as they move up to 20th. And there are a whole host of late goals which affected the top of League One. Brighton's lead has been cut again, this time to 4 points, as Charlton won their 5th game in a row. Southampton and Sheffield Wednesday move into the playoff places after their thumping wins, but only 2 points separate Bournemouth in 4th and Exeter down in 12th. It really was a vital win for Walsall. They're first in 6, and it brings them back in touch with their relegation rivals. But all the other teams in the bottom 4 lost, as the gap to safety remains at 3 points. There are important away wins for Brentford and Tranmere, which means they shoot up the table 5 and 6 places respectively. QPR are back on top of the Championship after they eased past Preston, with Cardiff slipping to a 2nd successive home defeat, this time to Nottingham Forest. As a result, Forest move up 4 places and into a playoff place. While at the bottom, crucial wins for Sheffield United, Hull and Bristol City sees Middlesbrough and Crystal Palace 3 points from safety, whilst Preston, and it's not looking good for them, are now 6 points adrift. A reminder that we're on the red button till midday and for a few more hours on Freeview. We're also on the iPlayer all week. And don't forget, you can watch all the highlights of Saturday's games on the BBC Sport website. And on Sunday, of course, you can see the best from the Premier League on Match of the Day too. Join Colin for that at 10:30 on 2. And the Football League show is back next Saturday. We're on air at the earlier time of 11:40. Well, that's your lot for now. Thanks to Steve and to Lizzie. Enjoy your week. We'll see you next Saturday.